This week on the Federalist Radio Hour. If you don't think that the Obergefell decision and the pretty rapid mainstreaming of gay marriage is related to what we've seen now with gender fluidity creeping into curriculums younger and younger, I don't know what to tell you. Subscribe to the Federalist on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts.
Be sure to visit my website, SaraACarter.com. That's SaraACarter.com for my latest reporting and stories. And while you're there, be sure to subscribe to my email list so that we can stay in touch. I'm very excited. Today I'm going to have my good friend as well as former chief of Guatemalan intelligence, Mario Duarte, on the show. We'll be discussing what China is doing in South America and Central America and why you should be concerned about Taiwan. Guys, this is very, very important. This is about every single one of us. This doesn't just have to do with Central America and South America. It's about access to the United States. It's what the Chinese are doing here inside the United States, the Chinese Communist Party, that is. And also break down a poll that showed President Trump is the clear favorite for the GOP nomination heading into 2024. Don't go anywhere. You guys do not want to miss this show. Please follow and subscribe. Get all the links at SaraACarter.com. That is SaraACarter.com. And while you're there, I want you to sign up for my email list so that you don't get shadow banned. Not only sign up for the email list, but download, review the podcast. Send me your emails. Let me know what you're interested in. Let me know what you want to discuss on this show. Because this show is about me and you. It's about our nation. It's about getting our country back on track. And this is a great way for all of us to stay connected and to stay together, to be on the same page as November midterms come around the corner in 2024. Guys, there's also another organization that will help you do that will help you stay in touch, that will take the fight to Capitol Hill, and one that supports this podcast, The Sara Carter Show. And it's a company that I talk about often and that I absolutely love. The organization is the Association of Mature American Citizens. And guys, by joining AMAC, you will literally be taking the first steps into saving the America that you love. AMAC offers an alternative to just about every benefit that other group offers. But guess what? It does not have a liberal agenda. I stand with AMAC, and I hope that you will too. This is important. Because when we join organizations that do fight for us, that take that fight to Washington, then we can rest assured that our voices are being heard, even when we have nincompoop lawmakers that don't take the message there. We have groups like AMAC. I encourage you to join today at amac.us/Carter. Don't forget that /Carter. That's amac.us/Carter. The benefits of membership are great, but the cause is even greater. Join today at amac.us/Carter. And thank you to everyone out there. I've been seeing all of your kind comments on Facebook and my other social media. Those of you that have joined AMAC really know what a benefit that is and how that will certainly support us in the upcoming elections and support each and every one of us in implementing laws that support conservative values and our nation's principles. I want to start out with today. I don't know if you all saw this. I love Turning Point USA, love Charlie Kirk, a great, great guy, a phenomenal young man who has made a difference in our nation by exposing the radicals at our universities and in our college campuses, and now has this amazing organization that is, I think, essential to the upcoming elections. Well, they had a straw poll at the Turning Point event at their main summit. It's the Student Action Summit this past weekend in Tampa, Florida. And guess what? Donald Trump won the straw poll when they asked who should be the Republican nominee in 2024. 78.7% of the youth activists in attendance. Now, granted, Donald Trump was speaking there, but this was a straw poll that included all kinds of folks. I'll tell you that. But first, I want to give you the numbers here. 78.7% of the youth activists in attendance voted for the former president, and 19% voted for Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Both fabulous people. I know them both, and I think they're amazing. 1%, only 1% said they'd vote for South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem, and less than 1% voted for Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, Senator Ted Cruz, Ambassador Nikki Haley, and Vice President Mike Pence. So I don't know. What are you all thinking? I'm going to tell you this. I don't think we can go wrong here, right? The only way that we can go wrong as the GOP, as a conservative Americans or independents, and the reason I say that is because the Democrats have become so radicalized and so leftist, and their policies, especially under this wild, radical Biden administration, I swear they're right up there with Bernie Sanders, especially Kamala Harris. I would compare her to Bernie Sanders any day. I just don't even think Joe Biden even knows what he's doing. I think that somebody is just holding puppet strings and making him move around. And sometimes he's not even moving in the right direction. Sometimes he's shaking hands with ghosts. Sometimes he's riding his bicycle and he just falls sideways. We don't even know what's going on there. It's embarrassing. I feel sorry for him. I think this is elder abuse. Let's stop this mess right now. And now he has COVID. And yes, I am not going to wish the worst for the president. I'm wishing that he recovers from COVID completely, because I think that's the right thing to do as Americans. But as for our nation, I believe it's very important that come November and come 2024, we put somebody in office that can bring our country back to its greatness and that can protect our national security, stay out of our national policies. Like when it comes to our states, learn to let the people take control. We are the leaders of this country. We really are the bosses, right? The government really is working for us if we're doing it right. That's why each and every one of us is so important in these upcoming elections. So if we're saying 78.7% of the youth activists in attendance, and this is huge event. I mean, this is like nothing you ever can imagine, like huge. I mean, children and youth from all over the country show up, even foreign youth show up. I mean, it's a big, big deal. Big deal. If they're saying President Trump, are you saying President Trump? Are you saying maybe, Ron DeSantis? I mean, I can't imagine, even if President Trump reached out to Governor Ron DeSantis, I can't imagine that Ron DeSantis would be just jumping on board, and I'm just talking hypothetically here, to be his vice president. I don't think that's going to happen. And remember, these are straw polls. Things change and fluctuate. Every month, something new is going to happen that's going to change that. And once things get rolling after November and all these official announcements are made, it's definitely going to be different. But I'm wondering what you're thinking. Oh, look, I have a couple of ideas. You could have Governor Ron DeSantis with Vice President. I know some people have said Tim Scott, but I've also heard that maybe he won't even be in the running for any kind of vice presidential spot. Who knows? What about Governor Ron DeSantis and a Nikki Haley? Or is Nikki Haley too much for some people as an establishment persona to jump into this race? I mean, are we going to be looking at more of a nationalist like we saw with President Trump in 2016? These are ideas, that are being floated out there. Vice President Mike Pence, what about that? Becoming a candidate for the presidency. A lot of people on the right were not happy with him. Other independents were. So there's going to be a lot of tumultuous, I think, fighting up to the top on the GOP side to see who's going to be that candidate. Right now, I do believe it's President Trump, 100%. And one of these folks that I'm talking about right now, right here, will be on the Sara Carter show. Will be on the Sara Carter show to talk about this and to talk about where our country is right now and what they will do to make a difference for our nation. That is going to be an awesome podcast. I guarantee you it's coming up very, very soon, and you're not going to want to miss it. And I think it's important that when we look at this straw poll, we realize these are the youth of America. These are our young, brilliant, conservative, newly conservative members of our society that are that are going to be fighting that fight out there for us and for our nation. And it's very, very important that the GOP listen to our young people and enlist them. Do I think we are going to have a tsunami in the House? Yes, I believe we're going to win the House back. The Senate, I'm not too sure about that. And the presidency, I would say you cannot go wrong, but who knows? We don't know what kind of events will take place between now and 2024 that could change things. But one thing is for certain, we cannot be complacent. We cannot be complacent. I talked about this on Steve Hilton's show, The Next Revolution, on Sunday night. We should not be complacent because the Democrats will not be. They are going to be working double time overtime. We need to be out there knocking on doors. The Republican Party needs to do enormous outreach. Right now, we can see the Hispanic community. We've never seen numbers as low as we've seen them for the Democrats among Hispanics in the United States. I think it was down to 19%, roughly. And those numbers are significant because they're showing a shift. Hispanic Americans are moving away from President Joe Biden. They are moving away from the Democratic Party, and they are coming to the GOP. But they won't stay there for long. If the GOP does not do its job, listen to what Hispanic Americans need, listen to what they want. We saw the election with Mayra Flores. That was amazing here in Texas to Congress. And I think it's a wake-up call. It's a wake-up call for all political parties that we need to start paying attention to everybody. That's also the African American community, the Black community here in the United States. We're seeing a significant shift as well, away from the Democratic Party, away from this rhetoric that the Democrats put on every immigrant that comes to this country, that we're somehow victims of our own society. No, sorry, Democrats, we are not victims. And I say that from a mother who fled Cuba. She was a survivor. Everybody that we're dealing with here in America, the real conservatives, that's the message that they need to push. That the immigrants that come to this country for a better life are survivors, and they will be the most essential part of the fabric of this nation because they understand the principles. They understand the need for a balanced justice system. They understand the need for freedom and liberty. They understand what that means because for the most part, many of our immigrants, the majority, have come through and come from systems that are corrupt. So I'm very, very excited about this straw poll. I think it's a good sign. I think the United States is ready to get out of this mess with Biden, inflation through the roof. Our nation's national security is crumbling. Our infrastructure is a mess. And by the way, frankly, the rest of the world is walking all over us because of President Biden. And that is not rhetoric. That is a straight up fact. Wait until I talk to Mario Duarte. He's coming up any minute now. You guys we will get him on the show. We're going to ask him these questions because China is walking all over us. And China is utilizing and extending its tentacles into the Western Hemisphere, trying to grab and take control of our allies in this hemisphere and all across the globe. And we have a guy in office that isn't doing a thing about it. In fact, I believe this administration is making it far worse, far worse. President Trump, I want to just go quickly into what he said at TPUSA. He was saying that, and he was teasing a 2024 run, a possible 2024 run. I think he is going to. I think he felt cheated on the last election. I think that's coming from President Trump. He said Saturday that we may just have to do it again. He said, if I stayed home, if I announced that I was not going to run for office, the persecution of Donald Trump would immediately stop. The persecution of Donald Trump would immediately stop. That's why the establishment, that's why the rhinos, that's why, the folks in the bureaucracy that weaponize the system against him, they don't want him there ever again. They don't want him there ever again. They're always using excuses like it's his personality, he's so divisive. That's not it. They don't want him there because he uproots the system in such a way that he exposes it. It's like the emperor has no clothes and everybody knows it. Nobody's saying, oh, it's so perfect. No, they're saying, wow, look at this shit. I can't believe this was going on in our government all this time. He just exposes the mess in such a way that we all see it. And then he said, but that's what they want him to do. And you know what? There's no chance I do that. Folks, that is a direct answer to what is going on, what President Trump will do. I am telling you this. If he can, and if he gets the opportunity, he is going to make that announcement that he is going to run. Now you have to ask yourself, where will you stand? How will you handle that? How will the GOP move forward? And if it's anything like that straw poll, it's going to be huge. It's going to be huge. Also, on the straw poll, before I get to Mario Duarte, 92.7% of all those students polled and those young people polled at Turning Point USA said they disapprove of the Republican establishment in D.C. 73.8% of conference attendees said they are not confident that the Republican Party can communicate with younger voters. That's another lesson. And that's something that we need to be paying attention to. And we need to open it up to discussions, find out what we need to do better, find out what conservatives need to do better to have outreach both to our younger people and as well as to everyone. I'm talking moms. I'm talking, middle-class Americans, Americans below the poverty line. We need to talk to everyone. We need to let people know, and the Republican Party, that they care about the American public and that they're listening to them and that they are going to work double time to win the trust of the American people back and to get this country back in gear. We need to think about that. We don't have much time, and we need to ask ourselves, what is it we're going to need to do to be a part of that process and to get our nation back to where it needs to be?
CPAC Chairman Matt Schlapp explains why firing Nancy Pelosi and winning the midterms needs to be our white-hot focus, or 2024 might not even matter. I'm Bill Walton. On the latest edition of The Bill Walton Show, Matt and I also discuss how a small number of leftists are ruining our corporations and institutions and why conservative ideas are better because they work and they make us happy. Follow The Bill Walton Show at Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm so excited to have my good friend and former head of Guatemalan intelligence, Mario Duarte, here on the podcast. And this is such an important time. I want everyone else to know, before I get to you, Mario, is that you are a U.S. Army veteran and a Texan. You're the reason I wanted to move here.
Well, we Texans are invading all the world little by little. We're starting with Guatemala now. We're moving other places soon.
That I'm okay with. I'm totally okay with Texans going all over the world and doing their thing. It's a lot better than China. And that's a big reason why I brought you on the show, because I'm talking about the Chinese Communist Party. I'm not talking about the Chinese people. And one of the issues that I think many Americans don't realize, maybe they're starting to see it now, is how China's expansion over the past several decades has really encroached into democratic nations, into our ability to conduct business on a global scale, how they've owned us pretty much when it comes to national security issues. Let's talk a little bit about that and how, in your opinion, I guess the Chinese Communist Party has influenced Central America.
Well, the Chinese Communist Party has influence all over the world, if we put it like that. It's not only in Central America, South America, the Caribbean, but also United States and other countries all over the world. They are very aggressive. We know what they want to do. They want to take over. They want to take over the world through different means. It's not only about becoming the most powerful country economically and militarily, but also they want to take over producing land all over the globe, because they know their country's only so big, but they want more. Think about it. They actually import a lot of produce and food and meat from all over the world. And now they want not only to buy from other countries, but they want to buy the land, install the companies, and produce it for their own stuff and produce it for their own use, right? And then on top of that, the land grab strategy, we can also talk about their high-tech eavesdropping capabilities and strategies, which is well known. And for at least here in Guatemala, we have known it for almost 8 years now. And it's surprising that it's not until now that the FBI is coming out with these news that, Huawei and all this stuff. We've known it for a long time. These are
right.
discussions.
And what you're talking about, I just want to let people understand and know what you're talking about. For a long time on this show, I've talked to you about it. I've talked to Brendan Carr about it, a former Trump official with the FCC. This was about Huawei communications from China, actually their 5G system. Under the Obama administration, Huawei began building towers. They built these towers in Montana, believe it or not. They purchased land there. They negotiated. I don't even know how it got past CFIUS in the United States, which is supposed to investigate these issues. But they built Huawei towers in Montana right near our nuclear arsenal. And to be fair, CNN, which I believe is revamping itself in some ways, this is a good exclusive, CNN exclusive, did a story called FBI Investigation Determined Chinese-made Huawei equipment could disrupt U.S. nuclear arsenal communications. That's pretty terrifying.
And it's not only what they can interfere with, but also how much information they are collecting with all their capabilities. I understand that most of the technology used in Latin America when it comes to cell phone towers repeaters comes from China, and it's Huawei technology. And we know for a fact that they are collecting information, even if it's only metadata from different things and communications and communication devices. But they've been doing that for a long time. And in fact, China CCP has several collection server farms in Latin America where all the communications from the hemisphere go to, and then they go to China. They've been doing that for several years now, and it's just coming to the attention of the United States. It's kind of pathetic, to think about all the capability the United States has, and now they're coming public with it. This should have been made public a long time ago so we could stop it, because now the United States is saying this. But think about how many cell phone companies in the U.S. or telecom companies have actually installed a lot of Chinese equipment. Now, how long is it going to take them now to take it off, to get new equipment, to get it ordered, and then starting giving service again? And what is the Chinese going to start doing now that their stuff is going to be pulled out from the U.S. market? Hopefully so.
You know what? And you brought up a great point. I mean, we're already compromised. The issue is we're not trying to prevent. We're not being on the offensive. Now we're on the defensive because we're already compromised. I thought about this the other night, Mario, and tell me if you've ever heard this. This is just coming off the top of my head. I didn't look it up. It isn't a story. But I remember a long time ago being part of a group called the SETI Project, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. It came out of Mountain View. And what they would do is they would harness, this was with NASA, they would harness everybody's computer power, right? So they would utilize, like I would volunteer my computer, somebody else would volunteer their computer. And then there were thousands or maybe millions of computers all over the world working with SETI to harness the power of our computers to listen and navigate those, I guess, satellites. I'm not a genius, but I think that's what they were doing. They were harnessing the power to process what they were getting back.
Yeah, it was how they call it, compiled computing power.
Compiled computing, like energy sources. Then it hit me last night. You know, when people talk about TikTok, when they talk about the Chinese owning all these apps, all of a sudden I just had like an epiphany, and I was thinking to myself, what if it's not about just collecting everybody's data? They can do that, right? That's easy schmeezy. We could just steal your data, but who the heck cares who John Smith is in the middle of Oklahoma City unless he's connected to a judge or a politician or something like that, or working at a nuclear site or something. But let's say they used all of the people that were on TikTok
Mm-hmm.
to harness their computer and their phone power to do something nefarious. Could that be it?
As repeaters, as listening devices, as eavesdropping mechanisms. But that here's the thing with China.
Or to target other facilities, that we don't even know, to utilize that energy to break into the Pentagon, to move to check out our nuclear sites, to harness our data.
You have to think about it. China CCP has weaponized every single capability they have against the United States, and let's count them down. Right? Now we have the land grab strategy, which they take over the land, which also gives them politically the capability to influence policy, win whatever they own that land in. Right? For instance, if they land so many acres in Texas or in Arizona or in California, whatever, because they're landowners, they can also influence the politicians there. Right? Two, you are talking about telecommunications capabilities. They are eavesdropping everything we do, or they can block our signals or whatever. Three, when you mention TikTok, it's not only that they weaponize cell phones as spying instruments, but also it's, I wrote this for Newsmax actually. To me, TikTok is an actual social reengineering tool because you're literally making kids and people dumber. They're cutting down the span of attention people have, and now they get bored with videos over 1 minute or over 30 seconds. Think about what that means. You have kids in high school or middle school going over TikTok, and they can't concentrate because their attention span is used to 15-second videos. So when you put them in front of the teacher, they can barely pay attention to what the picture is saying, right?
That's
so it's a real
great
social
point.
reengineering tool. Plus all the equipment they also push into our country. And then
what about the chemical precursors coming from
precursors
China?
coming through the southern border? And here's the other part. You have to remember that we have esteemed members of Senate and Congress that have had spies sitting in their car, like in the case of Madam Senator Feinstein. I think her driver was. Her driver of 14 years was a Chinese spy. And then another congressman, he had a mistress who was a Chinese spy as well. And, so you have to think about how aggressive China is towards the United States. And now think about how they are towards other countries in the hemisphere that are way less sophisticated when it comes to counterintelligence.
Right. And you're talking about Eric Swalwell, and his relationship with Fang Fang, and the fact that we have lawmakers. Let's just talk about President Biden. Maybe you don't want to go there, but President Biden and his son, who have deep connections to the Chinese Communist Party based on their business transactions. And we already know that, and that's been wide open. And now I feel that we really are. And I think we saw that during COVID. Think about it. It wasn't even just the litany of issues that you listed, but the PPE equipment, our personal protective equipment that we needed to for our hospitals, for regular people to protect against COVID, and our antibiotics and everything else made in China. We are like a national security disaster right now. And I'm sure your nation of Guatemala is seeing that.
Think about it. China has compromised almost every aspect of American life. Technology, telecommunications, the presidency, our medicine supply, now our land, even the minds of our young people. They have managed to get literally into the head of the United States, and they're controlling, I think, a lot of the power strings in our country, unfortunately. Good thing is that a lot of people are noticing it, and I'm hoping that more and more people from the Senate and Congress are going to start pushing our agencies to be more aggressive also, especially with our counterintelligence capabilities, and just do like Taiwan. I'll give you an example. A few years ago, my friends at the NSB in Taiwan, the National Security Bureau, which is the equivalent, they are more like the Shin Bet of Israel, right? They have a lot of combined capabilities, not only internal intelligence, but also security. But they detected that China CCP was buying a lot of land and property around their shrines, which would have given them voting rights at the shrine, and also when it came to voting for policies or for supporting a certain political candidate. When they noticed that, they actually passed a national security law forbidding any Chinese national oil company or whatever from owning land in Taiwan.
So that's how interesting. That's interesting to me, because that shows how China is thinking on multiple levels, not outside of the box. They're not just thinking one area, they're thinking an all-around strategy of what I would call irregular warfare.
Irregular and asymmetric thinking. They are really using smaller things to get into the bigger aspects of the United States. It's not like they are confronting us face to face. They are just going asymmetrically and irregularly against our power bases.
Would you call this the Trojan horse? I mean, would you say the Trojan horse is here? Like while we were asleep at the wheel?
That's, this is past the Trojan horse. Right now, they're just walking in freely. I mean, no, it's not like they're hiding their intentions or hiding what they own here.
You're right. And we've given it away. One of the biggest issues I've had, and I had the pleasure of interviewing Guatemalan President Jamate when I was there, and I, was able to speak with him, and I think it was a great interview. We did it for Fox News, where we discussed, economy and trade. We live in the Western Hemisphere. You've traveled throughout all of it, Mario. You've seen it. You know the resources, the culture, the ability for us to really be something spectacular and great. Yep. And I believe that the United States, and I'm going to talk from our perspective, has failed miserably in developing our relationships in this hemisphere and building strong economic ties that all people could benefit from, so that we didn't have this issue with China, so that we wouldn't have this issue with the European Union. Why are we so behind right now compared to the rest of the world? I mean, I'm talking as far as like a hemisphere, like our side of the world.
I think it has to do a lot with, obviously, Latin America. A lot of Latin American countries we have our own faults, right? And our weaknesses, and very young states as well, but also the United States and also multilateral institutions like the UN and OAS have been very arrogant towards our countries. They want to treat us like the small dumb children that needs to be told what to do, without really considering what our countries are. I mean, for instance, right now, State Department under President Biden is trying to push down the throats of all these countries, their LGBTQ, agendas and all the environmental agenda from the UN, when our countries are simply not that open to these things, because we are conservative at the base. For instance, why doesn't the United States under Biden push Saudi Arabia or Jordan or Qatar or Korea or China or Japan with this BS, social justice policies? Because they cannot bully them, but they can bully us, unfortunately, with economical conditions, with trade fairs, with trade barriers. That's how they actually are trying to force us. Unfortunately, some of these countries are not going to allow it to happen. And what they're going to do is, unfortunately, so they're going to go towards the worst country here, which is China. There's like, well, you know what? At least you're going to respect our culture, our societies. Yeah, you might screw us economically with whatever deal we do, but the United States is so arrogant and they want to mistreat us like this. We'll go with you. That's what's going to happen. That's what these arrogant policies from State Department is pushing the Latin American countries to.
I think that's a really very important point, and something that, I mean, for everybody out there that's listening to what Mario is saying, it'll affect every single one of us. These policies that are taking place and this attitude from the Biden administration right now in Central America, and what we've seen over decades of terrible failed policies with our partners in the Western Hemisphere, have led us to this point where we are today. And instead of doing something different, they're just enforcing it. Do you think, I always look behind this and say to myself, it can't just be because they're ideological, Mario. Somebody has to be lining their pockets. We have aid going from the United Nations into Central America, lining the pockets of, nonprofits that are there that are connected to, you and I have discussed this before.
You mentioned something very, very interesting right now when it comes to aid. I think that the United States, especially State Department, for almost a decade now, has been the champion of transparency and accountability in governments and injustice and all that stuff. But right now, the United States is failing at all that with their own agencies, especially with USAID. There is no real traceability or real accountability or transparency at all in all the monies that USAID is sending to these countries and to NGOs here.
We're seeing in Ukraine right now too. There's a big issue. Anytime somebody complains about it, they say, well, you must be Russian. Well, it's not Russian to ask someone to just oversee where the money's going.
It's our money, right? It's our taxes, and that's the whole thing. And we did some exercises in tracking funds, and we found out that there were some monies that were coming here into Guatemala. They were coming to an NGO, and then this NGO would send it to a specific sister NGO in the United States, and oh behold, that specific NGO actually gives a lot of money to Democrat candidates. So there is, I think, an urgency. There is a real urge. Exactly. Surprise, surprise. There is an urgent need to really start looking into aid money that has come to other countries and is coming back to the US and then being funneled to political candidates. That, in my book, is corruption, because they're simply laundering US taxpayers' money to pay for campaigns, US campaigns.
100%. And that's what we've been investigating. This is what I can't understand. And this is where you, as an American as well, we're supposed to have a Department of Justice that is balanced and equal in measure. It doesn't matter if you're a president. It doesn't matter if you're the poorest guy in a factory, working for your family. The justice system is supposed to, for the most part, treat the law as equal. That's why people come from all over the world here. But now we're looking at a justice system that appears to be two-tiered, manipulated, and fundamentally, when people say, well, we've reached whatever they want to call as a banana republic level in some cases.
Actually, unfortunately, right now, the US looks like a banana republic, especially thinking that a lot of the people in government right now, at least in the upper echelons of the government, are mediocre academics that really never worked a day in their life. They come from academia, NGOs and stuff like that, and now they are the ones in charge of US internal and foreign policy. That's what makes a banana republic, right? The friends of the president, the friends of the candidate paying political favors. And that's why you see so many problems inside our institutions right now. I mean, for instance, when we were seeing all that logistical problem we had at the ports in the United States, it's a real problem. We are one of the biggest logistical functional systems in the world, or living functional systems in the world. With everything we have, ports, airports, land ports. Then you have all our train systems and our land systems. And while literally Rome was burning, or our logistical system in the United States was burning, the guy in charge of it was at home chilling for 3 months, and freshly minted as the Secretary of Transportation. Yeah, it's okay, whatever. You were having family time, but still you have obligation with the US people that are paying your salary. See, that's the type of people that we're getting that's in government right now. And why? Because the Democrats for years now have actually been lowering the standards for getting people into government. We know that for a fact that even when it came to getting into certain agencies and certain State Department and stuff, they had certain level for, like, for instance, for the background checks and for whenever you took your
SF-86.
Yeah, and your polygraph test, they lowered those standards because they used to ask, do you have this type of relationship? Do you have socialist views? Do you have this blah, blah, blah? They took it away. So now they have all these commies in there. And this not only applies to Democrats, Republicans as well. That's why we have a lot of rhinos in there as well.
Mario does not hold back, guys. This is the truth. This is exactly the truth, dirty truth that nobody in Washington wants to talk about. I'm going to tell you, Mario, I have been back in touch with a lot of sources that I worked with years ago. I would say almost 20 years ago, when I was breaking, maybe a little less than that, when I was breaking stories on United States citizenship and immigration services. And exactly what you said was the warning they had. They said the Democrats and the people in charge, even rhinos, were infiltrating the bureaucracy with people that had fake degrees, people that didn't know what they were doing, but people that were loyalists, that would pretty much do whatever they wanted, not people that would stand up to them or question them. And it's almost impossible to fire anybody out of the government. You can't get rid of them. They're like there forever. So once they're in, they're in. And they have these loyalists. And I think we saw that under President Trump, where all of a sudden you have a president of the United States duly elected, and you have an entire system weaponized against him with educated loyalists and, frankly, dumbass loyalists. People that just would believe whatever they were told, and instead of questioning it. And that's the mess that we see ourselves in today, where now we have a president who shows obvious signs of some kind of mental impairment, who is corrupted and corruptible, and whose vice president of the United States is untrustworthy, in my opinion, and opportunistic. Vice President Kamala Harris has failed miserably. And I'm not trying to talk bad about my country. I'm talking about this administration. How do we fix it? Where do we go from here?
The medicine is the same medicine that I've been trying to push in Latin America and other countries: transparency and accountability. Giving the Bidens the benefit of the doubt about Hunter's dealings with China and all that stuff. Obviously, the laptop from hell, that's simply, you cannot deny that. You cannot cover the sun with a finger, as we say here in Latin America, right? That it is what it is. However, when we're talking about his business dealings and giving them the benefit of the doubt, just be transparent about it. If they would be transparent and show everything, it's like the problem would simply go away. And that's something that they pushed here in Guatemala all the time. And I'll give you an example right now. So if my memory doesn't fail me, so Hunter Biden right now is being accused of not paying taxes or whatever, something to the tune of $800 million, right? And accepting gifts along those lines. So when Jimmy Morales was president of Guatemala, both his son and brother were sent to jail for 3 months for actually for an administrative fault, not even a crime really, or it was more of a misdemeanor, not even a crime or a felony, much less, of equivalent to $10,000. The problem was that they provided a service. This was before Jimmy was even in politics. This is like 3 years before Jimmy got into politics. And they actually provided some, Christmas gifts to a certain institution in Guatemala. And the thing is that instead of, providing that service in one single receipt, they split it in two, right?
Right.
And that's, like I said, it's no crime. It's an administrative fault, but they paid the taxes, they delivered the service on time, and they complied with the contract and everything. But because it was not done kosher or properly, they were sent to jail for 3 weeks. Think about, there was a certain diplomat from the United States here in Guatemala at that time that even dared told the president of the president of Guatemala, Jim Morales, that he should step down to make sure that it was a transparent process. Why doesn't he say that to his current president right now? Because his president has appointed him to a high position right now in the United States. I respect him for what for as a human and as a person, but I know what he did here in Guatemala, and also his dealings with communist countries and with the newly minted communist Republic of Colombia under Petro. That's going to be problematic. And the guys down there, those guys are his friends. And it's going to be a real problem to the United States, because you're talking about a country that has helped us to break the backs of the cartels back in the 80s and the 90s. Control the outflow of cocaine from Colombia. But now you have empowered people. You have empowered people that belong to the M19 guerrilla group that were narco guerrillas. So they were funded by Pablo Escobar himself, and now now that's one of them is the president of Colombia. And
he's backing them. And our State Department, just so everybody listen to this, our State Department is backing the guy in Colombia connected to the narco trafficking as president of Colombia. Why do you think that is?
And here's the worst part of it all, that they actively participated in swaying that election, because State Department removed the FARCs from the list of terrorist sponsoring organizations. About probably like 8 months ago, right at the beginning of the electoral process in Colombia. And now just think about it.
Do you think this was the reason why? Do you think this was the real reason why? Because they wanted
this specific political party to win, because that was a whitewash to them. That was a whitewash to the narco guerrillas of Colombia. And the worst part of it all is that you already have an elected president saying in Colombia, saying that cartel members in Colombia should not be extradited to the United States. You have a named minister of defense over there, Ivan Velasquez. That at some point he said that the coca production should be probably legalized in Colombia as well. So you have all these people that are fanatically in favor of socialism and fanatically members of these organizations that actually were narco guerrillas and terrorists in power now. How is the United States going to behave towards them? Are they going to be as exigent as they are towards the other countries? Are they going to make sure that they keep their militaries and their police fighting against the cartels, their friends? Are they going to make sure that they do that? And if they don't, what are they going to do? Because Petro has already offered to open up their relationships to China, to Iran, to Russia, and to Venezuela. So
what happens if we don't do anything, Mario? I'm going to bring you back, because this is a discussion that we need to expand. We need to talk about. I swear I'm going to bring you back probably in the next week or two, because I think we need to do a part 2 to this. But before I let you go here, what is it that we need to do? And if we don't do it, what is the danger that we face as a nation, the United States?
Well, the United States already, had the first taste of what it is to live in these countries when there is a lot of geopolitical influence and manipulation into it. You saw it and lived it during the 2020 election. Cities in the United States being burnt down, our cops literally being track hunted and shot and killed, and everything under false social justice events. If you don't want to see that permanently in the United States, we need to take back, we as in the conservatives, because I'm not even a Republican, really, I'm not registered, not in the US or in Guatemala or anywhere, but conservatives, we need to take back both the Senate and the House to make sure that we start pushing back on these socialist policies of misery that are not only being implemented in the United States, but also all over the country. And the worst part of it all is that certain agencies in the US are actually the ones pushing down those policies.
And
policies that only unfortunately benefit small global elites,
And that frightens me, Mario. And that really frightens me.
It sounds so conspiratorial, but it's just a matter of people opening their eyes and seeing what's going on. How is it possible that in Chile, in 2019, the people decided to burn down the city, destroy, infrastructure that cost billions of dollars, kill a lot of people for 30 cents They augmented on the public
On their bus
transportation
tickets.
ticket,
Yeah.
on the bus ticket. But just a week ago, the new socialist president augmented 100 cents on the same bus ticket, but nothing is happening. What does that tell you? That it's these people, the leftists, the ones that control and manipulate the mobs and the people that come and destroy cities. So it's there. It's happening right now in Panama as well. It has
I'm watching Panama burn. I'm watching cities in Panama
Exactly.
burn. This is a warning to everyone. Look, what Mario's saying is real. I'm going to be visiting you, Mario, soon in Guatemala, and I'm
Yes, ma'am.
I'm excited to be on that trip with you again. I've been to Guatemala many times, and I think it's a beautiful, stunningly beautiful nation with the best weather I've ever experienced anywhere. Because it's like wherever
We should start bringing actually American production to our countries, you know? I mean, we have everything. We have hardworking people, we have good weather, great golfing weather, by the way, and also we have, all sorts of natural resources that don't need to be exploited but properly utilized in a good way.
Well, I totally agree. And when you become president of Guatemala, I keep pushing him there. When you become president of Guatemala, I am going to push for an appointment as an ambassador, and we are going to fix this problem.
Absolutely.
Lickety split, Mario, lickety split. Thank you for
That's
being a
right.
part of this show. Would you come back on with me the week after next?
Absolutely, ma'am.
Okay. You will have a great day. I'll see you soon in Guatemala. I'm going to talk to
Yes,
you
ma'am.
about this right after the show. And everyone, this is Mario Duarte. He's brilliant, and he may be the answer to changing what we have seen in Central America. He may be the answer to shifting this to a relationship that's going to make us a stronger nation and a stronger Western Hemisphere. Thank you so much. It was great having Mario on, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about what I think is happening here with China and give you guys some facts on foreign land grabbing here in the United States. That means when entities outside of the U.S. are purchasing land in our country and what that could mean for us. But before I get there, I want to tell you all about MyPillow. You know how much I love Mike Lindell and his company, America First. Yes, an America First company. And right now, they are having the sale of the year. But you got to use the promo code Carter. That's CARTER. And the sale of the year is on MyPillow Percale Bed Sheets. You cannot beat these. They are breathable, cool, crisp, feel, durable, built to last. They're machine washable. I love them. They have more than a 250 thread count. They're imported. You can get them in queen, king. They're available in every style and color. You are going to love me for this. You're going to love me for this. Listen to this. Go to mypillow.com/Carter or call 1-800-685-7221 for deep discounts on the MyPillow Percale bed sheets. Queen size, listen to this, was regularly $89.98. They are on sale now, and you will not beat this price anywhere for $39.98. Wow, huh? Isn't that amazing? While there, take advantage of the buy one, get one free on my pillows, get the buy one, get one free on the towel sets, and so much more. Visit mypillow.com/Carter or call 1-800-685-7221 today for the sale of the year on MyPillow Percale bed sheets, mypillow.com/Carter or call 1-800-685-7221. So I hope that I opened your eyes and that Mario Duarte opened your eyes to what's happening in our hemisphere, because there is a reason why our border is being flooded. There is a serious national security implication with having this crazy Biden policy at our US-Mexico border, our southern border. And you could see what's happening across Central America and inside Mexico and in South America. And, Mario was very open, very honest, just letting it all out there, because there is a major concern that we really are under threat now, that our nation is sold out to our enemies. What are we going to do if we have to, try to get that back? Or what are we going to do if, there's another outbreak of something like COVID and, China controls all of our personal protective equipment and our antibiotics, and there's land grabbing in the United States. And now we see And the story I alluded to with Mario is how Chinese-made Huawei equipment could disrupt our U.S. nuclear arsenals and our communications systems there. I want you to think about that. That happened under the Obama administration when they just allowed these Chinese companies to come in based on what they promised. I don't even know how they passed a review at State Department through CFIUS. I do not know how that happened. But I think people are sold out. People are on the take, or people are turning their heads and just allowing this to happen. Let me tell you a little bit about this story, just so you're familiar with it before I let you all go. And this is from CNN. So I'm just gonna say credit to CNN for writing a very good story. And I just don't even think they've touched the surface of this story yet. But this is what CNN got from the FBI. Among the most alarming things the FBI uncovered pertains to Chinese-made Huawei equipment atop cell towers near U.S. military bases in the rural Midwest. According to multiple sources familiar with the matter, the FBI determined that the equipment was capable of capturing and disrupting highly restricted Defense Department communications, including those used by U.S. Strategic Command, which oversees the country's nuclear weapons. It's unclear if the intelligence community determined whether any data was actually intercepted and sent back to Beijing from these towers. Of course it was. Sources familiar, and of course it was my added in. Sources familiar with the issue say that it's from a technical standpoint, it's incredibly difficult to prove a given package of data was stolen and sent overseas. But we also don't want to give away what we know and what has been maybe sent over to China. And maybe we also figured it out late, but maybe we're sending stuff over to China. Maybe we're deliberately putting stuff in there so that the Chinese will play with them, will toy with them. Who knows what's happening now? But all I know is why in the heck would we allow the Chinese government to own land and to set up towers in the United States of America so they could ship, near our sensitive military installations nonetheless. I would think anywhere. I wouldn't want them to own it anywhere. But near sensitive military installations and allow them to send data from the United States from those military installations overseas. And especially so close to our nuclear installations. Think about that. The Chinese government strongly denies any efforts to spy on the US. Really, of course they do. Huawei, in a statement to CNN, also denied that its equipment is capable of operating in any communication spectrum allocated to the Defense Department. Multiple sources familiar with the investigation told CNN that there is no question that the Huawei equipment has the ability to intercept not only commercial cell traffic, but also the highly restricted airwaves used by the military and disrupt critical U.S. Strategic Command communications, giving the Chinese government a full window, I would say, into America's nuclear arsenal. How dangerous is this, folks? What have we done? I always call this, even when I talk to Sean Hannity, who I work with, China is like has brought in the Trojan horse. But Mario said it right. He goes, the Trojan horse, that was a decade ago. They're in here right now, moving and targeting and ensuring that they are going to have full eyes, ears, and abilities and capabilities in the Western Hemisphere. It is not an alarmist point of view. It is reality. You and I are living in very dangerous times, and we have no concept of what could possibly happen next. I would compare this, what we're seeing right now on the world scale, with maybe the way people felt before World War I, or maybe the way people felt before World War II. You hear rumors of war. And I think for the last 20 years, we have been very focused and hyper-focused on, insurgencies and terrorist organizations, that we somehow fell asleep at the wheel. Our intelligence community did. That is for certain. And when they dismantled everything after the fall of the Soviet Union under Clinton, when they dismantled it, we did not pay attention to what enemy states were doing. This is very dangerous for our nation, and even more so when you know who's in office, which is President Biden. And I'm not I'm not just saying that. I wish that he was a great president, and it's not, I wish I could say that. I want the best for our country and for our children and for our children's future. But that is not happening. And that is the reality. Guys, November midterms are around the corner. 2024 is coming faster than you can even imagine. We have to make a difference. This is our nation, not theirs. Let's do the right thing and protect it for our children and our grandchildren and our future generations. Thank you so much. Remember, follow me on Twitter at Sara Carter DC and on Instagram at SCarterDC. So Twitter, Sara Carter DC, Instagram at SCarterDC. God bless you. God bless our great nation. And God bless the great state of Texas.
This week on the Federalist Radio Hour. If you don't think that the Obergefell decision and the pretty rapid mainstreaming of gay marriage is related to what we've seen now with gender fluidity creeping into curriculums younger and younger, I don't know what to tell you. I think even the left would say that Obergefell was a huge step in that direction.
I'm Emily Jashinsky of The Federalist. Subscribe to The Federalist on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts.